all. Last week, week 8, I talked a bit about creative processes and especially the importance of being aware of your own work habits and patterns. You probably noticed I often talk about and think about creative processes hand in hand with project management. This surprises a lot of the people that I work with who have a more artistic and poetic sense of creativity, that creativity just strikes you or the muse suddenly speaks to you. I've never particularly believed that. I like to think of myself as a creative person. I hope that the people around me think that I'm creative, but I would argue that creativity is about plans and processes and strategies and tools. The most creative people I know who make a living off their creativity use tools. They use processes, they use strategies, they have work plans. Rather than stifling their creativity, these tools seem to enhance their creative work and their ability to make a living off their creativity. It's week 9. This week we're going to focus even more about recognizing our own creative capacities and why such self-awareness is important. In this brief video, I'm going to provide an overview of our work for the rest of the semester, talk about creative self-awareness, and then introduce Creativity Quest 3. To provide a sense of where we're going for the rest of the semester, this week, week 9, we'll talk about the importance of knowing yourself, identifying your creative strengths and how you can best put them to use, and pinpointing your weaknesses so you can work on them or identify others whose strengths complement yours. Next week, week 10, we'll talk about brainstorming, inventing, and ideating. We'll talk specifically about techniques and tools. Week 11, we'll talk about creative context, which I also think will be really helpful in your Creativity Quest 3 work. Week 12, we'll talk about barriers to creativity, identifying them and breaking through them. Weeks 13 and 14, we'll work on creative problem solving, starting with the importance of being able to recognize and identify problems, and then moving into how to address and solve them. Week 15, we'll focus on continuing the creativity, reflecting on what we've done this semester, and how you can hopefully use these tools beyond this class. We have 2 more major projects or creativity quests for this semester. I'll introduce Creativity Quest 3 later in this video. I'm currently undecided about what we might do for Creativity Quest 4. What I'm thinking I might do is share with you some ideas I've had and assignments I've done in the past, and then ask you to chime in. And to incentivize this group brainstorming around what our final project might be, I'll probably offer some extra credit to people who share their ideas. Remember, you should post 10 questions and 10 responses to pack back for full credit by the end of the semester, and make sure to complete and submit 2 creativity exposure write-ups by the end of the semester. You can submit these to D2L anytime, but they're due no later than noon Eastern on Wednesday, April 28th, the Wednesday of finals week. Our first reading for week 9 is a piece by Kendra Cherry, where she suggests 17 ways to develop your creativity. The second is a chapter from a book by Michael McChalko called Thinker Toys, a handbook of creative thinking techniques, where he provides 10 suggestions for not just intending to be creative, but going through the motions. For our first creativity case, you're going to read A Day in the Life of an Entrepreneur piece. For our second creativity case, I want you to do some good searching and find a day in the life piece or essay or blog or podcast that resonates with you. So you might do a smart Google search of day in the life in quotation marks and supply chain manager, or day in a life mechanical engineer, or day in a life financial planner, something like that. Our first creativity spark is a set of ideas, quotes, and activities from Sam Harrison's book, Zing. The entire book offers 5 steps for creative thinking: explore, freedom, pause, embrace, life. We're going to look at the exercises from the freedom section of the book. The second creativity spark is a set of online quizzes. I've posted a list of a bunch to D2L. They're all quizzes designed to help you tap into your creative strengths. Take 1 or 2 of the quizzes posted on D2L. We're exploring these materials because our focus this week is on ways to identify your creative talents and abilities and ways to identify your weaknesses. Identifying your weaknesses allows you to identify areas you want to develop personally or professionally, and it allows you to figure out ways to accommodate for your weaknesses. One of the currently most popular industry and organizational tools right now is Gallup's Clifton Strengths Finder. It was introduced in the 1990s, but again, it's really popular right now. My strengths are analytical, disciplined, deliberative, focused, and individualized.
Is zillion a real number? No, zillion's not a real number, but it is a word you might be tempted to use if you tried to list all the talents found among humankind. Creating a list of every talent is an impossible task, but if you step back, you'll see that talents often have something in common, a theme that connects them. Some talents, like a natural tendency to share thoughts, to create engaging stories, and to find the perfect word, relate directly to communication. That's what they have in common, their theme. So, to begin thinking and talking about them, we can call them communication talents. The Clifton Strengths Finder measures the presence of talent in 34 general areas or themes. Your Clifton Strengths Finder report includes a ranked listing of the 5 themes that hold your most dominant talents, your signature themes. Similar to your fingerprint, the sequence of your themes is unique to you. The odds that someone has the same 5 signature themes in the same order as you are 1 in 33 million. You heard right, 1 in 33 million. Your report is a beginning, not an end. Take this opportunity to explore your talents, harness their power, and bring them to life every day.
Personal mantra of mine is a quote from Howard Thurman, and he said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive." And for me, the power of Strengths Finder within an organization is to tap into those talents and those strengths that when they are applied productively and when they're recognized and when they're called out, they truly make people come alive. And we would call that engagement. I call it being fully alive in your work, not sleepwalking, not just going through your day on autopilot, but feeling engaged and alive because your talents are on display and they're being used to their maximum potential.
There's a student Strength Finders version you can take for $12 if you're interested. If you prefer to sit down with a person to talk about your strengths, MSU Career Services offers a variety of self-assessments, including Choices 360, the Strong Interest Inventory, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and others. If you go to Career Services, you'll meet online with a career advisor. They'll connect you to one or more of these inventories. You take the assessment, and then you meet again with them to talk through the results. Why would you want to invest in getting to know yourself better, getting to know your career aptitudes or your creative capacities? Martin Zwilling reviewed the work of Ella L.J. Bell Smith, specifically her book Career GPS, and says there are 7 key reasons for entrepreneurs to know thyself. Bell Smith argues that self-knowledge builds confidence and good confidence. I suggest that bad confidence are people who act super sure of themselves but don't really have anything to back it up with. Good confidence are people who act sure of themselves and have the tools and abilities to back up their confidence. Second, self-awareness is a cornerstone of effective leadership. I'd argue that the best leaders are those who can help others be the best they can be, especially team members or subordinates. You can't be a good leader unless you're aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and you likely can't help others identify their strengths and weaknesses unless you're aware of your own. Self-awareness helps you make sound business and creative and other decisions. Bell Smith argues that entrepreneurs specifically face a lot of hard decisions. If you're launching a startup, you might not have models or guides to those tough decisions. If you have a better sense of yourself and how you make decisions, like what information you need, what context helps you be decisive, and more, you'll push things away that aren't really important and really be able to hone in on what is important. Being self-aware is key to knowing, accepting, and liking who you are. Knowing, accepting, and liking who you are encourages others to know, accept, and like themselves and you. People work better when they know, accept, and like themselves. Fifth, self-awareness, especially as related to what you want and need to be creative, to thrive as an entrepreneur, and just to be human, helps you to say no when you have to. Zwilling says that knowing your limits, just how far you can stretch before you break, is an important skill. Self-awareness requires us to pay attention to our good, bad, and ugly. None of us is all good, but we do need to recognize what is good about the ways we act and think. We also need to pay attention to the bad, where we need to work to further develop, learn more, or be better. The ugly parts are the parts that are often hidden, that we either consciously or subconsciously don't recognize, or maybe even want to recognize, but they're part of who we are and we have to learn to live with them. And finally, self-awareness allows you to maximize performance. Both Zwillig and Bell Smith argue that just working hard is not enough to cut it. Entrepreneurially speaking, you must create winning business plans and pitches, network and cultivate relationships, build your brand and market strategically, and much more. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses will help you navigate these complicated tasks. And hopefully, the materials and quizzes for this week will also help you do so. And this self-reflection will be particularly helpful, I hope, with Creativity Quest 3, which is a collaborative project. And the work you do this week thinking about your strengths should help you all with your group members as you work together to best leverage the strengths you each bring to the project. And speaking of Creativity Quest 3, you may already know that the Shaw Lane Power Plant right on Central Campus and right behind Spartan Stadium hasn't been in operation for decades, but it's currently being rebuilt and redesigned. Construction has already started. This is a photo from last summer. This is an artist rendering of what the new building will look like. The view is looking to the east as if we were standing on top of the stadium looking down. This is another artist rendering. This is a rendering of the entryway into the building as it's currently imagined. So here's the context of Creativity Quest 3. It's a hypothetical situation. An anonymous donor has given MSU $40 million for creative, innovative space on campus for students to collaborate on entrepreneurial projects. The spec'd out space is going to be built on the top floor of the new Shaw Lane building under construction. The donor wants students to participate in the design of the space since it's for you. You're part of a group submitting an entry to the space design competition. Your entry must be in the form of a stand-alone slideshow, meaning you won't be presenting it, but you'll be submitting it for me to review. It should be no more than 15 slides, and it should reference readings, materials, and examples from class. And week 11 will talk specifically about creative space design, which should provide you with some really good material to work from. Your entry should include some visuals, some rationale, and explanations specifically about how you've imagined the space as supporting entrepreneurial work. And it should include some examples of the type of entrepreneurial projects you imagine the space supporting for Spartans. The full assignment is posted to D2L, and the assignment includes group assignments, the names and the emails of who you'll be working with. In the assignment, I suggest some approaches for getting started. First, connect with your group members. Introduce yourselves, figure out the best way to communicate with one another. Second, decide who might work best in what role and contribute what to your group, and figure out how and where you'll work together. Do some brainstorming about creative space. Do some research on creative space specifically to support entrepreneurial work. Keep doing research and really focus in on what you want your space to allow, to showcase, and more for creative entrepreneurial projects. Work on your presentation. And again, Project 3 groups, names and email addresses are included at the end of the assignment posted on D2L. As always, please reach out if you have any questions about our Week 9 work, or reach out individually or as a group if you have questions about getting started with Creativity Quest 3.